Happy New Year, everybody. As many of you know by now, since mid-December, I've been subject to a huge Zionist smear campaign. Here is the good news. The Brits won't bite. Thousands have joined my fight for truth since Christmas. People who tended to disagree with me in the past are now admitting that I've been spot on all along. More than 6,000 people signed a petition expressing disgust with Islington Council. Articles exploring the shameless ties between Labour and Likud are now widely circulated all over the net. Yet, the campaign against me doesn't seem to fade away. And this raises a few questions. Why are they so afraid of my work? Considering the fact that no one, and I really mean no one, has managed to point out at a single racist or hateful comment by myself, why are they so desperate to burn my books? Why are they so desperate now to break my reed? Why are so many Jewish organizations, both Zionist and anti, by the way, are so determined to silence me? Why are some segments within the so-called British Labour are happy to carry the job on behalf of a Likud UK director or any other foreign lobby request? It is simple, and I'm going to address it today. In the last 10 years, I have revolutionized a few political and intellectual discourses. Today, we will try to examine some of my ideas. Zionism is not a problem. It is a symptom of a way bigger problem. This is an idea that I explore in this book, The Wandering Who. In my work, I argue that Zionism is an obsolete political concept. It conceals more than it reveals. I suggest that if Israel defined itself as the Jewish state, we must dissect the J word first. We must understand how Jews, the people, Judaism, the religion, and Jewishness, the culture, the ideology, the identity, relate to each other. We have to grasp the meaning of Jewish identification. And this is something that is very crucial for my work and something that I'm doing here in this book. Rather than asking what Jews are, which is a very complicated question and a dangerous one, I ask what those who call themselves Jews identify with. In my work, questions to do with Israel and its horrendous record on human rights or war crimes are formulated within the context of Jewish identity politics. Beware, I do not argue here that Jews are a race or criticize Jews as a race, as a biology, as a people, or as ethnicity. I instead argue that Jewish identity politics is most often racially oriented. So in fact, what I do is criticizing some racist and exceptionalist aspects within the context of Jewish identity politics. Another topic that I delved into and raised some concerns, and I did it in my latest book, Being in Time, is controlled opposition. In Being in Time, I explored the cultural mechanism that is set to obliterate dissent. I found out, for instance, that on social, political, and ideological polarized issues, Jews are very often not just in the opposing sides, they are actually more than often in steering positions within rival camps. Capitalism on the one hand, Bolshevism, Marxism, left on the other. Zionism, no doubt, a Jewish movement, but so is anti-Zionism. The pro-Palestinian discourse is now at large dominated by Jewish voices, to the point that the discourse of the oppressed, i.e. the Palestinians, is defined by the sensitivities of the oppressor. We are mostly concerned about anti-Semitism, for instance. Pro-immigration, some people within the right do argue that it was Jewish intellectuals, Jewish school of thoughts that brought on us this immigration, multiculturalism, and so on and so on. Interestingly enough, the anti-immigration, anti-multiculti is also led now by Jewish intellectuals. It started maybe with Breitbart, and you can see David Horowitz, and so on and so on. In England, we have Melanie Phillips, who wrote Londonistan, and so on and so on. In my work, I insist that this observation is not conspiratorial. It is not conspiratorial for a person who identifies as a Jew to be very embarrassed by Israeli politics, Israeli crimes, Israeli record on human rights. It is understandable. However, what I show in Being in Time is that this scenario evolves into a situation in which many crucial political, ideological, and cultural debates are reduced into an internal Jewish exchange. Needless to say that such an observation isn't really popular amongst Jewish institutions, but not because it is hateful or racist, but just because it is truthful. The post-political. I was probably the first one to offer a theoretical model for the post-political condition. Left and right are dead, as most of you agree by now. America, France, Britain, and the West in general are split between the as a people, those who identify as a woman, as a Jew, as a black, as a Muslim, as a gay, as a trans, and those who are geographically oriented, the Americans, the French, the Brits, the Israelis, who are also men, women, Muslims, gays, trans, but they identify with a geographically oriented context. I argue that World War III is not a war between states or across borders. It is a global, ideological, spiritual, and cultural conflict that breaks state, societies, and even families apart. Again, none of that is hateful or racist, but it suggests that our political infrastructure and activist networks are shooting blanks. They are completely irrelevant and they lead us nowhere. And finally, Athens and Jerusalem. I refreshed the old dichotomy between Athens and Jerusalem. Yes, I did. Athens is the birthplace of philosophy, reason. In Athens, we think things through. Jerusalem, on the other hand, is the city of revelation, where we accept Torah and mitzvot. Jerusalem is a regime of correctness. Athens versus Jerusalem is not a Goy versus Jew or a Gentile versus Jew, not at all. Jerusalem is the philosophy behind political correctness. Athens is the philosophy that preaches tolerance, pluralism, and freedom of speech. Athens versus Jerusalem is a battle between an open society that accepts and encourages people to think differently, to create, to criticize. Jerusalem is a rigid thought policing environment, an authoritarian realm where a whistleblower has to hide in an embassy for 7 years, and a leading jazz player is banned by a Labour council who follows a request from a Likud UK director. Athens and Jerusalem dialectics help us to see the continuum between Likud and Labour, between the Guardian and Judea. It digs into the reasoning behind the morbidity that we detect in our compromise, political, academic, spiritual, cultural worlds. In Athens, you are innocent unless proven otherwise. In Jerusalem, you're an anti-Semite until a further notice. Happy New Year, everybody. Stay safe. Look after yourself. It is not an easy time, but we will win because truth always unveils itself. And stay tuned to my work. I need your support. I enjoy your support. I love you all. Bye-bye.